I get an email from the IMC recruiter like, hey, are you free sometime tomorrow or the day after to schedule a call? I think you'll like the news. And then she starts discussing the details. She's like, so to start off, we'll give you a sign-on bonus of $20,000. I was like, what?
Today we have a very special guest, my younger brother Aadil. Aadil is a man of many talents. He recently graduated from the University of California, Berkeley with a degree in electrical engineering and computer science. Expect to learn how Aadil landed a $500,000 plus job offer in Quant at age 20, how he was able to get and turned down a Google software engineering internship in his free time, how he put on 30 pounds of muscle and transformed his physique, and much, much more. This is a really special episode. You guys are going to want to take notes on this one. This is episode 1 of the Liftoff podcast. Welcome aboard.
3, 2, 1, liftoff.
So Aadil, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Tell me about 8th grade math counts.
Yeah, so in 8th grade, I was part of the middle school math counts team. And basically I was into math, so I decided, okay, let me try out for math counts, see what happens. Ended up making the team. And we went to the regional competition, and I placed second, which most people would say like, oh, it's pretty good. Like, 40, 50 kids there, placing second, this is good, right? Unfortunately, one of my friends on the 8th grade team placed first. And I don't know if I remember this correctly, but what I remember is that he made fun of me. I remember that he kind of rubbed it in. So obviously, I wasn't too happy about that. This guy, this dude, getting first, rubbing it in my face. And he was always a little bit like that, like always a little competitive. If he would beat me at anything in school, he would make sure it was known. And I couldn't take it anymore, So, I couldn't let this go on. Couldn't let this dude make fun of me. And this regional math counts competition was in February, about mid-February. We had the state competition coming up at the beginning of April. For those 6 weeks, I studied my ass off for math counts. My dad actually hired an online private coach for math counts. So I told him, like, this is it. Like, I will die before this guy beats me in the state competition.
And you're like a 13-year-old
I'm
for
13,
context.
right? This is the first time I really tried at something in my life. Mm-hmm. So those 6 weeks, I study hella for math counts. Back then, a lot of studying is like 3 hours a day.
You're like a brain dead 13-year-old.
Yeah, I never focused on anything in my life back then. All I did is like play Minecraft.
And like Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon, Minecraft, So 3 hours a day is a lot as a 13-year-old. But anyway, state competition rolls around. I ended up placing 4th in the state of Iowa. That's where I'm from. On the written math counts competition. I think there were 200 kids there. And how math counts works is that there's a live round for the top 10 individuals where it's like kind of like a live head-to-head competition where they'll put a question on the board and the kid who like does it first and hits the buzzer, gets it right, gets a point. And the top 4 individuals were going to go to the national competition. So like in math counts, top 4 individuals from every state represent that state to go to the national competition. So I was right on the edge, placed 4th. Unfortunately, at the live round, I got really nervous and I lost. So I was knocked down to 5th and I barely missed that national competition. But anyway, the kid who made fun of me, that dude was like 35th. Okay. Okay. So why do we bring this up? I think this is the genesis for me. This is one of the big moments for me where I realized I'm good at math. I can work hard at something for 6 weeks and be one of the top people in the state in 6 weeks, right? In math specifically. So that kind of guided the rest of my high school career, I would say, or my high school life. But yeah, that was the first time I realized I was, quote, talented at math.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think that was the first time I realized.
No, we all knew that you were good at math.
Yeah,
but we had never seen you perform at like a statewide level before.
Yeah.
It was always kind of like in the elementary school or in the classroom.
Yeah, like in the classroom, like sure, like I knew like academically I'm like the most qualified kid here, right? But I never knew that I could be good on like a state or national
You
level.
never knew that you could actually show up at that scale.
Yeah. And keep in mind, like I'm from Iowa, okay? Like middle of nowhere, right? Later in high school, I met all these kids from like the Bay Area, from New Jersey. literally all those kids, like they have 50 people they know that are like smarter than me at these things, like working harder. In Iowa, we knew no one. So in Iowa, you know, figuring out that you can do well at something like math was kind of like a new thing for me, my community, and like anyone I knew. But yeah.
Yeah. So this was kind of like the first genesis when it came to you like competing at like a statewide or a national level.
Yes.
So tell me about some other math things you did after 8th grade. I know you did some math camps. You also did American mathematics competition.
Yeah. So I studied really hard for those 6 weeks in 8th grade, but then I had surpassed that other kid, right?
Yeah.
And locally I had no competition, so I lost the drive.
Yeah. You just beat like the guy who made fun of you, and now you just have no one else to push you.
Yeah, like I think it's definitely useful to have like competition around, at least for a competitive person like me. Once I had like, you know, reasonably surpassed this kid, I just stopped caring and trying. So throughout high school, like if you haven't heard of like the American mathematics competitions, it's like a national math competition. I would take them, but I wouldn't really study, so I never did too well. If you know what like the AIME is, I only qualified one time. But yeah, in high school, I also ended up going to a couple of math camps, learned more there. But I would say like, I never really worked too hard in high school because there was just no clear incentive. Like this kid has made fun of me, I need to beat him, right?
Yeah. And I think something that I'm starting to realize now is that it is so beneficial to be around people who are better than you. And especially, it may not feel good, but when people like dunk on you, make fun of you, and they're ahead of you, it just pushes you to your limit. Why don't you talk a bit about how like we started the math club as well? Like that's another big aspect of high school. Well, we took over the math club.
We did a hostile takeover.
Yeah, we led a coup d'etat of our high school math club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how relevant that is, but basically like
you were a freshman in high school and you showed up.
Oh,
and the leader was a senior.
Yeah, I remember that day. So that back then the math club was like 6 dudes.
6 dudes in a sweaty library.
Yeah, we were in the library. This
Yeah.
senior dude had started it. And he's like, okay, we're going to do some problems. So he gives us all some problems. It's like me, my brother, 3 other Indian dudes, and like this senior dude. He's like some kid, right? So we do like some combinatorics problem. I figure it out, tell him how I tell him the answer. He's like, oh, that's right. And then he looks at me, he's like, how the fuck did you do that?
Because as a context, Aadil's like a 13-year-old.
Yeah, I'm like 13.
He's a 13-year-old. This guy's like 17 or 18.
I'm like some weird 13-year-old.
Some weird and nerdy 13-year-old who shows up out of nowhere and just like does this problem right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because back then, like we had no standards. Like if you can do like a basic combinatorics problem in Iowa, bro, you're a genius in Iowa. It's Iowa. Like you're crazy smart. But anyway, like I'm not sure how relevant again that this math club thing was, but
yeah. But it kind of like paints a story that even from a young age, whatever math opportunities we had, I think Aadil definitely went for them. I did some of them myself, but I was never very competitive at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it started in 6th grade Math B. I think that was the first time we ever competed when it came to math. And it was because the Math B was kind of known around. And then it went into MathCounts in 8th grade. And then it was kind of like AMC. We did some more math competitions in the math club, like HMMT, which is like the Harvard, MIT one.
Yeah, yeah.
There was PUMAC, which is like the Princeton one. Then you did some summer math camps as well. Tell me about like, what was it like going to those summer math camps and beating those kids?
Can talk about that. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So it's kind of finishing up the math club point. Like Aman was president of the math club for a year after we did the hostile takeover.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
we straight up kicked the leader out. So
because he was, I mean, it doesn't matter, but he wasn't really doing anything. So we just kicked him out. And then I ended up becoming the leader of the math club.
We actually held practices in our basement.
Yeah. In our house.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can talk about like the summer camps I went to.
What was that like?
So after my freshman year of high school, I applied to this summer camp called Prove It Math Academy. And it was a 2-week summer camp in Boulder, Colorado, where they got all these high school kids to come and study pure math for 2 weeks. I found it really interesting. I really enjoyed it. And that was the first time I met kids that were significantly ahead of me. Because again, you're from Iowa, you're not going to meet anyone that is so far ahead of you. You go to these math camps, there's these kids from the Bay, from Texas, from New York, from New Jersey, and they're probably 10 times more experienced in the field than you are. So that kind of motivated me to study a little more, and kind of drove me to apply to more math camps and experience that again. But overall, I really enjoyed that, really enjoyed learning about pure math. So in my junior year of high school, after my junior year of high school, I went to this math camp called HCSSIM. It's like a long acronym. It's the Hampshire College Summer Studies in Mathematics. That was 6 weeks. And again, ran into all these kids who were like much, much more accomplished, much more smart than me. When I actually came to that camp, I was very insecure because I just felt like, like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm some kid from the middle of nowhere. These kids are so smart. They know so much more than me. How do I even like fit in here? That was the first time I experienced true depression in my life. Was that math camp. I remember, so I was 16. I'm here in the middle of Massachusetts in the summer. I know no one. 2 weeks in, I remember I just laid on my bed and cried.
So what prompted that?
Because like I'm alone.
It's loneliness, I think.
I'm
was
alone.
a big part of it.
I'm not doing well here, I'm not stupid, but like it's this.
You're like
tough
probably
for me.
in the lower
Like
third.
lower third of the kids here.
Yeah, maybe 30th, 40th%.
Don't have too many friends. Kind of, like what am I doing here? I just want to go home. So I actually called my parents and I was like, I think it's time. Like, I need to go home. Like, I'm done.
I need to
quit. Yeah.
So what % of the way through the program was
This
that?
was like 2 to 3 out of 6 weeks. Dude, back then when you're 16, 6 weeks is a long time. Okay?
Yeah. We did another summer camp that was also 6 weeks. And that
It
changed
felt
our
like an
lives.
eternity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a month.
I mean, saying it now, like, dude, you have 3 weeks left. Just wait.
Yeah. 3 weeks is nothing now. Yeah. But back then, that was a huge amount of time.
Yeah. So I remember I called my parents. I had been crying. This is when Stranger Things 3 came out, by the way. That was my only like joy in life is watching
That was your
Stranger
only
Things.
solace? Was it 2019?
Yeah, July 2019.
Yeah.
Stranger Things 3. So then my dad's like clearly you're not doing well. Like you can come home. Forget like the money we paid. It was like $5,000 for 6 weeks, which back then that sounded like a lot. Now if you think about college tuition, it's like nothing, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, if you want to come home, you can come home. But then I was like, no, I don't quit.
I'm not a quitter.
Yeah, I'm not a quitter. So I stuck it out. Eventually I adapted, got used to it. And I actually ended up learning a lot and feeling more confident in myself and like my math ability. So yeah, I'm definitely happy that I stayed throughout that camp. By the end, I had fun. I made a couple friends. So yeah, in terms of the learning experience, living by myself for the first time was useful, but also being exposed to more pure math to all these really smart kids was useful as well.
Tell me about SSTP. That was another camp that both me and you did as well. And I think one common similarity of doing these math camps and research camps in high school is that you just get thrown into a completely new pool of individuals.
Yeah.
And it just exposes you to a whole new way of living your life.
Something I strongly believe in is the importance of writing an incredible software engineering resume. It's the first step in landing a software engineering internship or job. And without a great resume, you can kiss that dream position goodbye. Some ways you can improve your resume are by emphasizing action words, using metrics, and keeping it professional. You can do all of this and more in BeamJobs, the best resume builder on the planet. It's the best resume builder in the world with over 2 million resumes created in the last few years. And people who have used BeamJobs have been hired at companies like Google, Meta, and Stripe, and much, much more. One of my favorite features of BeamJobs is the AI resume checker. So you can just upload your resume and it will tear it apart and give you a step-by-step guide on how to improve it. So I just uploaded my resume and it gave me a resume score of 93, which is pretty good. But it gave me some great tips on avoiding filler words, which could take my resume to the next level. If you use my link in the description, you can access the AI resume checker completely for free and drastically improve your resume. Or you can go to amanmanazir.com/beam and it'll take you right there. Once again, go to amanmanazir.com/beam for a systematic breakdown of your resume and specific advice on how to improve. Thank you to BeamJobs for making the Liftoff podcast possible and sponsoring this episode.
So SSTP is this research program at the University of Iowa. It's a summer camp for high school students. And Aman and I both attended the same year in the summer of 2018. And I was doing research on fluid mechanics. So I was in a lab that was looking at vortices on a delta wing. It sounds really cool, but like, dude, I was a high schooler. I wasn't really doing anything, right? Like, it was just kind of, you're kind of there. They're telling you like, oh, like 3D model this wing, like, read this paper. What are your ideas? But it's more just like to have high schoolers involved and stuff, right? It wasn't anything crazy technical.
Yeah.
So yeah, the main realization that Aman and I had in SSTP was that we are just outclassed by these other kids. We came in and we were like, oh, these kids seem like normal kids, just normal kids. A weekend, we learned like all these kids have like perfect scores on like these national math competitions. They're like nationally acclaimed. Like these kids are smart.
They'd done the thing that we thought was impossible, and it was kind of like bread and butter to them.
Yeah. It's like, it's like, oh, okay.
It was an everyday, average day for them. Like, yeah, I qualified for Amy.
Yeah.
We actually went around and polled them. Did you get Amy? Did you get Amy? Did you get all of them?
Yeah.
All of them. Yeah, dude, that's so obvious.
I made them. I made a
didn't
math
get it?
Olympiad. I made the summer math camp, whatever. I made the math Olympiad. It's like, bro.
Again, the thing that we literally thought was the hardest thing in the world.
Because we knew no one.
Yeah, we didn't know a single guy who was able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the main realization we had in that summer research camp.
Yeah. Basically set the bar just way higher from where we had previously imagined.
It kind of goes to show like your environment matters.
Tell me about your college application experience and why you picked Berkeley.
Yeah, my college application experience. I wouldn't say like my application experience is anything out of the ordinary. Like I just kind of applied to a bunch of schools.
Well, you didn't. I mean, you were one of the smartest kids in our high school. Like you were
I was a valedictorian. Yeah.
Yeah, you were valedictorian. You definitely had like if not the highest potential when it came to colleges. You were definitely like up there for sure. So why did you, I mean, if I recall, when some kids, they think they're the smart kids, right? They're like, oh, I'm valedictorian. I should apply to Harvard. I should apply to Yale. I should make it to the Ivy Leagues. So tell me why you didn't actually apply to MIT or Stanford.
Well, I applied to Stanford and got rejected.
But why didn't you?
Dude, I didn't apply to MIT. I was like, I have no shot. Yeah. I was like, why should I write these 5 essays? Like, there's no shot I'm going to get in. And I still think the chance that I got into MIT is probably like 2% or something, pretty low. Because we had met those kids that actually got into MIT over the summers. And then I'd seen like, I'm not that guy, It's also that in affirmative action, like as an Asian male applying for math or computer science back then, not anymore, I guess. But, yeah.
Supreme Court.
Yeah. But back then, like I knew that's going against me. Plus I'm not like these kids. Like there's no chance I'm going to get into these schools. Mm-hmm.
So what were your options? I know Berkeley was an option. Did you look at any other schools?
Yeah. So I'd still apply to like Harvard and Princeton, Stanford and Caltech. And I think Northwestern too, and UChicago. Those are the private schools I applied to. I didn't get into any of them. I was waitlisted on Northwestern, but that was it.
That's crazy. You didn't even get into Northwestern.
No. Again, like maybe I just was bad at applying. Maybe I was bad at like presenting myself. Maybe it was the affirmative action thing, and just like it's hard as an Asian male, right? But it turned out fine. My choices were UIUC, Berkeley, UCLA, and Georgia Tech. I decided to come to Berkeley because Berkeley has this program called the Regents Scholar Program, and they let like a certain amount of kids in early to interview for that. So I was admitted early to Berkeley. I visited campus to interview for the Regent Scholar thing. I didn't end up getting it, but I loved the campus. I loved the vibe of Berkeley. I talked to a couple of Berkeley students, and after I talked to them, I was like, dude, like I'm coming here. Like that's it.
Did you look at other schools? Did you actually go there?
No.
You only visited Berkeley.
Once I visited Berkeley, I was like, that's it. I'm coming.
Yeah. But I mean, also Berkeley is ranked higher than all these other schools for math and computer science.
Whatever the rank is, right?
Yeah.
I think honestly, Berkeley is probably one of the best outcomes that could have happened for me. So it was great. Everything turned out fine.
Tell me about how you transitioned into life at college from high school. I mean, like in high school, you were the big shot kid, one of the best in the States at math, definitely one of the smartest kids in the entire high school. How did your experience at Berkeley? How did things change when you went to Berkeley?
Yeah, my first year was entirely online because of COVID. So I didn't really live here until my second year. Everyone says that, when you go to a top college, you can be the best in your high school, but, now you're a small fish in a big pond. You come and realize like, I'm not the smartest anymore. Like all these people are smart. Like this is tough. I'm struggling in my classes. Dude, for me, like classes were a breeze. Like it was.
Oh, what? So it was like the opposite.
It was like.
Really? Berkeley classes were a breeze?
Yeah. Yeah.
Throughout or just in the beginning?
Throughout my time at Berkeley, yeah.
Wait, why were they a breeze? I thought they were going to be hard.
They were harder than my high school classes, but I think doing like a little bit of math in high school, doing the math camps kind of set me up to like do well at Berkeley.
So how do you think the math competitions and math camps, how did that change your brain compared to everybody else at Berkeley who didn't do those things?
I think the math camps helped more than the math competitions because having a decent background in pure math was very useful. I can talk about what I studied at Berkeley, actually.
Yeah. Why don't you tell the audience about like what were your majors and what did you study?
Yeah. So Berkeley has this major in the College of Engineering called Engineering, Math, and Statistics. It's a mouthful, right? That's what I applied for because my resume in high school was most geared towards that. So I applied to that. The major has like 5 to 10 kids every year. So I came in as engineering, math, and statistics. I was always interested in computer science, but I never did any programming before coming to Berkeley. So I decided to take Berkeley's intro computer science class, CS61A. Liked it a lot. So I was like, okay, I'll just double in EECS as well. So EECS is short for electrical engineering and computer science at Berkeley. So those were the 2 majors I have, were EECS and then engineering, math, and statistics. Yeah, and then in terms of like the classes, it's mostly like math classes and CS classes, some statistics that I
So how were you socially freshman year? I mean, what did your day in the life of a freshman in college look
social
like?
life freshman.
You just lived at home under our parents?
Yeah, I lived at home with my parents.
How many hours per day did you do classes for?
Dude, I feel like that time just like didn't exist in my life. You know,
You had very little development whatsoever.
yeah, like that time, like I might as well not have existed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's like I went into a stasis chamber and just came out.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes to show that classes, so there's kind of an idea, it's almost like the IQ midwit meme, where like the left is like, college is all about the experience of being there. Then the midwit is like, no, classes are the only thing that matters. Just learn your technical skills and get out of there. And then at the right, it's like, college is all about the experience.
Yeah, because like I took my classes. What was my day in the life, dude? Like I would get up, maybe do like 3 to 4 hours of work on my classes, go to the gym, just like sit around, watch YouTube.
And what were these classes you were taking? I mean, freshman year.
Yeah. So I took 2 classes in the summer before I started. One was called CS70, it's discrete math. And then one was a physics class in electricity and magnetism. And then my first semester, freshman year, I took a real analysis class, statistics class, and then like the intro electrical engineering class, and then computer science class.
Yeah. So there were kind of mostly introductory classes. So I think that's also part of the reason why.
Well, you would think that. But actually in Berkeley, most people think that introductory classes are
harder
more work than
really?
higher
Interesting.
level ones.
Okay.
It depends on which one.
Yeah.
And it depends on what you're good at. Like most people would be like, dude, real analysis is really, really hard. Like it's known as like, this is a hard math class. For me, like it was fine because I had gone to those math camps. I took like a real analysis class online in high school already, but they didn't give me credit for it. So I was kind of retaking it.
Yeah, you had done so many advanced math classes in high school too. I think you did like, was it AP calculus as a freshman or something?
I think sophomore year.
Sophomore.
Yeah. I mean, again, for Iowa, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I feel like all these other kids from the other places, like they've done it already.
Like our cousin did AP calculus as a freshman in high school.
Yeah. There's like 7th graders doing. There's like 6th graders,
Yeah.
like 10-year-olds. Like,
Yeah, there's 10-year-olds doing this stuff.
what you need to realize, like if you're smart, the public education system is just limiting you. I definitely think if I could go back, I could have had like that knowledge instead of like doing AP calculus at 14. I could have had it like at age 9 because it's not that complicated, right? Mm-hmm. If you're a smart kid. But anyway, we can continue.
Yeah. So tell me about the Amazon internship interview your freshman year of college.
Oh yeah. So we can kind of transition to like what I was thinking in terms
let's
of
talk about internships and software engineering.
Internships in software engineering. So back when I came to Berkeley, I was super interested in like the culture of Berkeley, what's going on, but it was COVID time. So I would just frequent r/Berkeley on Reddit. I read every post on r/Berkeley for like 6 months. I would say 6 months to a year when I came to Berkeley, just to know what was going on. And there were all these people talking about like, oh, like this Quant internship, Quant this, Quant that. It's like, oh, what's Quant? So I did some research and I was like, this sounds cool. Like it's kind of like a combination of math and computer science, but you're applying it to make trading algorithms and stuff. So I applied to a bunch of Quant internships my freshman year of college.
Okay.
And I had all the alpha from like, there's another Reddit called r/CS majors. So I would read all those posts. So they're like, dude, if you're a freshman, they'll just auto reject you. So it's like, okay, let me just lie about my grad date and say I'm a junior so I can like get these internships. So for Amazon, I lied and said I was a junior. And I was like, I calculated, I was like, okay, like if I took 4 or 5 classes a semester, I could graduate in 2 years. So I'm not even lying.
Yeah, like if they had audited you and were like, why did you put junior? You could have been like, oh yeah, I'm actually,
Yeah.
I could graduate in 2 years.
Yeah,
so
even
I'm
though like,
technically
I
a
had no
junior.
intention of doing that.
Yeah.
But, you know. So I applied to a bunch of Quant internships, applied to a bunch of software engineering internships. And I ended up interviewing at a company called Jane Street my freshman year. And they were asking me all these probability questions. I'm like a freshman in college, okay? I didn't know how to study for it. So I passed the first round, but then I bombed the second round.
But imagine if you had gotten Jane Street your freshman year of college. For context, like tell me about how prestigious Jane Street is,
Dude,
compared to like Google or
if
Amazon.
you're in Berkeley, you say you work at Jane Street, people like bow down to you.
People will kiss your feet if you work at Jane Street, and you had the opportunity to do that your freshman year of college.
Yeah.
So why do you think you were able to do that?
Well, I
Just
didn't-
come back
I
to the
wasn't
math
able
thing.
to do that. I bombed the interview.
Okay, yeah, I guess you weren't able to.
Actually, I was going to say the question they asked, but they'd tell you not to say the question. So
Yeah. Yeah, but you.
it was.
I mean,
It
you
had to
passed
do
the
with
first
a
round.
100-sided die. Anyway, go ahead.
You passed the first round though,
Yeah.
just based on your pure math ability in high school and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. And I took that class CS70, which went over a little bit of probability.
Okay, got it. So tell me about Amazon, because you interviewed for Amazon.
I can talk about the other quant companies I interviewed
Yeah.
at as well. So I interviewed at Acuna Capital for an internship, and I got to the fourth round. These companies have a lot of rounds, okay? Like they had 2 online assessments, then a phone screen, and then I had this fourth round, and then I bombed again. I interviewed at a company called Five Rings, which, dude, their interview's so weird. They asked me all these Fermi questions, like, like how many elephants do you think could fit in a plane or something like that?
Yeah, all
Dude,
these
what are you
weird
talking
questions.
about? Or like how much is the biggest elephant weigh? Something like that, right?
Lots of elephant questions.
Yeah. So I bombed that. And then for software engineering, the only company that I can remember, there were 2 companies. One is Indeed, like the job board, but I was interviewing for business intelligence, and I got to the final round, and then I was like, hey, I'm more interested in data science, and I did some coding stuff. They're like, yeah, we can tell you're not really interested in business intelligence, so it's fine. We're not going to give you an offer. And then the other company was Amazon. So I got to the final round of Amazon. Unfortunately, I didn't understand LeetCode, and I didn't know that I was supposed to study LeetCode. So they asked me like an intervals question, like a classic, like
I think it was merge intervals or something like that.
something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I
Very basic lead code
very
problem.
basic
If you
LeetCode
study
medium.
LeetCode.
Like if I studied, would have passed it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I didn't. So I didn't pass that interview, and I was kind of stuck. I had no offers. So then we did the classic, the John Deere gambit, as we call it. Yeah. So in Iowa, where we're from, the Quad Cities, the biggest employer there, or one of the biggest employers, is John Deere. And a bunch of our friends' parents work at John Deere. So we just reached out to one of our friends' parents, and they sent us a referral to interview at John Deere. Their interview was all behavioral. They just had an online assessment, like a hacker
Not
rank.
an OA.
Yeah, which was basic data structures and algorithm stuff. And then they just had a behavioral interview. So I ended up getting an internship at John Deere for software engineering, and that's what I did my freshman summer. Just stayed at home, did it online actually. Mm-hmm. Dude, like I would work like 3 hours a day, like 3 or 4 hours a day.
You were kind of brain dead during that time as well, too.
Dude, I was like on Accutane. Like,
You were on Accutane trying to do John
it's like
Deere.
a period of my life, like I had no friends around me because it was COVID. My best friend went to the military. Okay.
Okay, so he left you.
Yeah, he's in basic training in like middle
Yeah.
of Texas or something. Some of my other friends who went to schools in Iowa, they were able to go to college because like it's Iowa. They were less COVID crazy.
Kim Reynolds didn't really care about
yeah,
COVID.
they didn't really care.
Yeah.
So didn't really meet any of my friends. Just go to the gym, do my classes. So yeah, that summer I worked at John Deere. I had this weird haircut too.
You were like a recluse who was just doing your John Deere internship in the basement.
Covered in acne, so I hopped on Accutane.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing that's interesting though is that you were a very talented guy when it came to math, and you had done a lot of work in high school. You've done a lot of effort. So you had a very good mathematical foundation, which made the Berkeley classes very easy compared to someone who didn't do any of that stuff. But you still fell to the trap of just not knowing what to do for these interviews.
Yeah, you need to know that. So if someone sat me down and said, dude, study LeetCode, if I studied for like a week, I would have gotten that Amazon internship.
Yeah, and you would have had Amazon your freshman year, and then you probably would have gotten like Google or Quant the next year.
And if
as a
someone sat me
sophomore.
down and told me, this is how you study for a quant interview, this is the green book, go look at it, study. If I studied for like 2 weeks to a month, I might have gotten like an internship like at Acuna or one of those places, right?
Or IMC or something like that.
Yeah, but
Yeah, no one told you. No one sat you down.
Yeah.
I think that's the value of even mentors. Like if you had somehow sought out some guys who were doing quant a few years older than you,
yeah,
and you would ask them, hey man, I'm a freshman at Berkeley. I love math. I did all these math camps and competitions. I'm really interested in getting into quant. Could you just give me 30 minutes of a conversation and just tell me what to do?
Yeah.
It would have changed a lot for you. And really, I mean, you ended up pretty good overall, but you would have accelerated your journey greatly. So I think just trying to find mentors or mentors meaning people who are 3 to 4 years older than you, who are doing the thing that you want to do, because there's just so much implicit knowledge that they gain over time that, I mean, I went through the exact same thing as well. So why don't you tell me about, you did John Deere, okay? I think both of us got a return offer to come to John Deere the next summer.
Yeah, so I did John Deere, worked like 3 hours a day online.
Yeah.
I was coding some like AWS Node.js something,
Some like data lake thing, right?
Some like the service was called AWS Macy, and it was scanning the data for like PII, and I had to like do some lambdas in Node or something. And like, dude, I had like downloaded like a mouse jiggler because on Microsoft Teams, like it has like the green icon if you're active and like the yellow icon if you're inactive.
Yeah.
So I just move my mouse every 5-10 minutes so like my teammates would think I was active.
You basically bullshitted your way through the John Deere internship.
Yeah, that's like online work, you know.
Yeah, that's remote work. So tell
And
me
then
about
my final meeting with my manager is like, yeah, like I'm giving you excellent across the board, perfect ratings. Like it's like, what?
I didn't do anything. That kind of goes to show like the level of standard at different companies are very different.
Yeah.
Like if you go for a John Deere or like kind of like an early company that's not like a Fang or something or a Quant, you can kind of just get away with doing this kind of quality of work.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can talk about sophomore year.
So tell me about sophomore and junior year. What was your process there?
Yeah, so just continue to take classes. Back then, like I really thought my technical knowledge is very important. I'm going to take the hardest classes I can get my hands on.
Was that a good decision?
Was that a good decision? We can come back to that as we go through like the progression. But yeah, back then I was like, whatever the class is the hardest and the most complicated, that's the one I'm going to take. So in Berkeley, there's this class called CS 189, which is a machine learning class. And that had a reputation of like, this is a hard class. So I took that my first semester, sophomore year. There's another one called EECS 126, which is a probability class. I took that one as well. I can't recall what else I took first semester, sophomore year, but like probably a math class. And then I took like another electrical engineering class. But yeah, I would say first semester, sophomore year was a season of the recruiting grind for me. Because I still had my eyes set on quant. Why? Probably just because I thought it was high status. Like I probably didn't actually care like that it was interesting or anything. Back then I thought like, all these people are cool that they're doing quant. I want to be like them. I'm just going to do it too. I had a whole spreadsheet that tracked every company I applied to, the interview stages I got to, like the OAs I took, everything.
So throw some like rough numbers out here.
Yeah. So that spreadsheet had about 200 companies I applied to. I did about 50 to 60 interviews total.
Wow.
Over the course.
Interviews. Like you talked to 50 to 60 different interviews. Not even OAs.
Yeah, interviews.
Yeah.
Over the course of, let's say July to October. So how many months is that? 3 months. So 60 interviews in 3 months. That's like, they're only on weekdays, right?
Yeah.
So that's 12 times 5, 60 weekdays. Like, on average, one interview a day.
One interview
for
per
3
day
months straight.
For 3 months straight.
Yeah.
For context, you as the listener and the average computer science student has like 1 or 2 interviews total in their entire year.
Yeah.
And you're doing 60 interviews. You're doing one interview per day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
I was gung-ho. I was like, I will get a quant internship. If this is the last thing I do in my life, I'm going to be a quant.
You're going to be a quant
Yeah.
internship. Okay. So tell me about like your success.
Yeah. So there's a reason why I had to do 60 interviews. I was still stupid. I didn't study for any of them. Okay.
This guy's going in blind all these
I took
interviews.
the shotgun approach instead of the sniper approach. Okay. Which I mean, if you don't have too much experience in your resume, you need to combine them. You need to take a shotgun and then snipe the ones that give you an opportunity. But yeah, I applied to a bunch of software engineering internships, a bunch of quant internships, and I never like explicitly studied for the quant interviews, but I did so many of them that my study time was just doing the interviews themselves. So I would like see common questions getting asked, like common patterns. And I just got better by interviewing like itself instead of studying. If I could go back, I probably would have said like, dude, you don't need to interview at 60, you don't need to do 60 interviews. Just study the content, pick a couple that give you an opportunity and just do well on those. So then you save your time. But obviously I didn't know that.
Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't really like have a mentor or anything like that was in quant. So I was just kind of figuring things out by myself.
Yeah, you were like a blind man stumbling around in a cave.
Exactly, right.
Running into walls, trying to find the exit.
Trying to figure something out,
Yeah.
So what happened that that semester is that I would always get to the final round of these quant interviews and then bomb. Or, well, I wouldn't bomb, but I wouldn't get the offer. It's not like I like completely failed, but I would never be good enough to get the offer. I would be good enough just to get to the final round, and then I would get cut.
And how many times did this happen to you?
So it happened to me, I think, 5 times in a row.
Before
I got my first offer. So
Wow.
the companies were like, what was my first final round was at a company called Deere, and I thought I did pretty well. They had like 3 45-minute interviews. I answered all the questions correctly for 2 of them, but then I didn't get a question on the third one. They had this data science challenge, so I'm not sure how I did on that. But I thought like, hey, I did pretty well. Didn't get that. I had a final round at a company called Optiver. Dude, that one I actually bombed.
Yeah.
I slept like 7 hours the night before, which sounds like a lot for a lot of people, but that wasn't a lot for me back then.
Yeah.
And because I had to take it at 7 a.m. because it started at 9 in Chicago time. I was in Pacific time. So yeah, I totally bombed that. I remember my interviewer, we were playing some game with some coin or something, and then I wasn't doing well. And he was like, dude, do you think the same shit strategy is still going to work? I was like, bro.
This guy's like making fun of you as you're doing it. He's like, dude, what an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. So I bombed that. And then I bombed a final round at Acuna Capital. I bombed a final round at 2 Sigma for quant research. Again, well, I didn't bomb. I'm just using that word bomb. Like, I didn't get the offer, but those I did okay on. I didn't get an offer at a company called Virtue Financial, which I thought I answered all their questions correctly as well. But yeah, anyway, didn't get those offers.
Yeah.
And then finally,
But 1 second though.
yeah.
There was an interaction where I recall that you applied to Amazon, and you were actually feeling a little bit of despair because you were not getting offers or something like that. And there was a time where I think you applied to Amazon, you didn't get interviewed for some reason that semester.
Yeah, what happened there is that like I completed Amazon's online assessments like back in August, and then I never heard back. So it's like, dude, like I'm not even getting this Amazon interview that I got
last year as a freshman with no experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I kept trying to push through. This is mid-September, late September, early October. I just bombed 5 quant final rounds in a row. Like, I think a lot of people would have given up. But then, like, quant is not for me. Clearly, I'm good enough to get to the final round, but I'm just not cut out for this.
Maybe take another year, do something else, go back to John Deere.
Yeah, but I was like,
more.
dude, I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
Oh, and I also got cut on this company called Bridgewater after the third round there.
It was like Ray Dalio's company.
Yeah, like right before the final round, I got cut on that company. So then this company called IMC comes around, the final round comes around. And before, I never prepared for the behavioral parts of the interview. But I called my cousin Fatima, and I was like, can you help me with this behavioral interview stuff? And she's like, yeah, I can help you. And she told me like, you want to have like 5 to 10 stories.
And she was a she's a
consultant. But she had interviewed a lot. Like she knew this stuff.
Yeah.
That was the first time I prepped for the behavioral side. So the technical side of the IMC interview went well. And then I passed that. And then the last round was the behavioral round. And since I had done prep for the behavioral side, I did fine on that. And then I ended up getting an offer to intern at IMC that summer.
So you got your first quant trading
elated.
internship.
I was elated when that offer came.
I remember when you sent that in our family group chat.
Yeah.
And then you sent like the salary or something.
Yeah. So what happened is that I remember the day. This is how into this I was. Like, I was like, I'm going to be a quant. Like, quant.
You're like dreaming about quant. You're like, quant.
Yeah. Dude, I was obsessed.
Yeah.
So the day was October 13th, 2021. I know the exact day.
Yeah.
I was sitting in CVS, picking up my Accutane.
You're like acne-ridden face. Weird hairstyle back then.
Weird hairstyle, acne-ridden face. First time I'm living by myself for a while in college. I've been living here 3 months in college. Yeah, I'm picking up I'm sitting on those chairs outside the pharmacy when they're preparing your prescription
zone.
Yeah, to pick up my isotretinoin. Yeah. And then I get this email. And when you're in the internship application phase, everyone I know can relate to this. You refresh your email every 5 to 10 minutes, okay? Because of like the unpredictable rewards and the dopamine.
It's like a slot machine.
The dopamine hit you get when you get an OA, you pass a round. Like you, like a recruiter emails you. It's incredible the dopamine hit you get. So I still refresh my email, like check my email an hour. I'm not applying anywhere. There's no one who would be emailing me right now. I just a habit now. because of the whole internship thing.
Both me and you have this like lingering effect years later where like we're like a rat who's pressing a cocaine button in a cage.
Yeah, to the email. So yeah, I'm sitting there in CVS, and as one does when you're in that internship application phase, pull up my phone, go on the Apple mail app, scroll up.
Scroll wheel happens.
The scroll wheel happens to refresh. I get an email from the IMC recruiter like, hey, are you free sometime tomorrow or the day after to schedule a call? I think you'll like the news. It's like, dude, let's go.
Why did they say it like that? I think you'll like the news.
Dude, they like never say it outright.
Yeah, they like to keep you in suspense.
Tell you on the phone. So I scheduled the call the next day. And then she's like, hey, like, we really liked you. We thought you did great on the interviews, and we want to give you an offer to join us next summer for an internship in quant trading. So obviously I'm very happy. So I'm like, oh, I'm super excited about this opportunity. And then she starts discussing the details. And again, back then I had no like comprehension of what the salary range was. I had some sort of an idea, but I didn't really know. So she's like,
for context, John Deere was $26 an hour.
Yeah, $26 an hour.
That was the only experience both me and you had back then.
So throughout the summer, we made like 8 to 10K or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's like, so to start off, we'll give you a sign-on bonus of $20,000. I was like, what?
The sign-on bonus is over 2x your entire summer from last year. Yeah.
Like, what? That was crazy. Dude, my jaw dropped when I heard that. And then she's like, and then your salary is going to be like, I think it was like $12,500 a month, something like that. And then,
which is how much per hour, roughly? Maybe like 70 an hour or something.
How much is that per hour? Dude, I used to be really fast with this kind of stuff. No, I'm slow.
we just hyped you up about math for like 40 minutes.
I think it's like 75 an hour. Is that?
Okay, fine. Yeah, roughly around 70 to 80
All
an
right,
hour.
now I need to check.
All right, give him a quick second.
Okay, so 12,500 a month, and you work 160 hours a month. 78.125.
Okay, yeah, $78 an hour. From $26 an hour to $78. So you had 3 extra salary as a sophomore in college.
Yeah, and that's not even including the sign-on bonus. If you include
the sign-on bonus, 20K.
Okay, let me just include it, just like to give a better estimate of what like the total hourly rate was. This is assuming you're working 40 hours a week. I was doing more like 50. So overall, it's like $130 an hour if you factor in everything.
$130 an hour.
Yeah, and they pay for your housing too in Chicago.
They pay for your housing
in downtown Chicago.
They give you like $3K a month for like housing.
No, they just give you a fully furnished, great apartment in downtown Chicago.
Yeah, Millennium Park kind of.
Yeah, it was in West Loop, if you guys know, like the area of Chicago. But yeah, like this kind of treatment, I didn't even know that was possible. But I was astounded.
I don't think anyone in our family or community had ever heard of that ever. Yeah. Anyone being treated like that.
Dude, getting $50,000 for 10 weeks of your time in the summer, plus housing. No one had heard of it. No one heard.
You didn't even know what to do with that knowledge.
It's like, dude, what?
What do I even do now?
Yeah. Let's give like some context here. Like, it is not easy to get these internships. It's not like every Tom, Dick, and Harry is able to achieve that. Like, as you heard, like it took me 60 interviews to get this. Right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely like the top whatever percentile of computer science and math students that are going out for these internships.
But this is the peak. But Quant is the peak.
I wouldn't say that. I would say like if you create a successful business, that's the peak.
But like in terms of your salaried position, like working as a software engineer or a researcher, this is the highest salary you'll ever get.
What I've heard, like in terms of a corporate position where you work for a job, Quant is the peak in this field of computer science and math. Yeah.
So what was your experience at IMC?
Yeah, so we can get to the experience then. So I liked it. It was fun. The first 5 weeks was a training program where they taught us like more about trading, applying our computer science skills to actually do data analysis for trading. And then the last 5 weeks was a project that I worked on. Again, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to discuss exactly what I worked on because these firms can be very secretive. I mean, to be honest, like I was an intern, so it's not like I contributed that much. But
you had a good time overall.
Yeah,
you made some friends.
Yeah, I made a lot of friends actually. That was the best part of the internship is I made a pretty solid.
Because you were in person, and they were all very like fun, competitive, or maybe not competitive, but they were all very high achieving students around your age.
I was friends with the people who were like less interpersonally competitive. Like I don't think any of us really cared how the others were doing in the internship. We were just kind of friends.
Yeah.
And then like a point I was saying before is like, again, I was an intern. It's not like I contributed something crazy. I definitely didn't give them $50,000 worth of value. Okay.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. because the amount of time it would take me to do something, like an experienced trader could do it in like 1/10 the time or something, or like 1/5 the time. And also I'm taking all these experienced full-time people's time to help me. So, I mean, in terms of the overall expense for the company, it's much higher than 50,000 when you think
But they're
about
making the bet that you're going to come back full time, train for a few years, and then create
Right.
enormous value for them.
Right. So they make
down
that
the
bet
line.
on a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it a lot. It was a lot of work. I was working probably 10 to 11 hours a day.
And how many per week total?
Like
Did you work
50 to
weekends at
55.
all?
No weekends.
Okay.
So during the project section, it was a lot of work.
50 to 60 hours a week.
Yeah. I wouldn't say never 60, maybe 50 to 55.
Okay. So quite a while. You had to work for your income.
Yeah.
You were paid highly, but you still had to put a lot of effort in.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I liked it. Again, like to put context of where I was at in life. I was 19, this is my first like real in-person internship, living in Chicago, just having fun with friends, on the weekends.
Okay. So tell me about your recruiting after you did IMC. Did you get a return offer, and what was your process from that on?
Yeah. So that year, so again, I don't know if they want me to discuss the return offer rate, but I did get a return offer.
Just give an order. Wide range.
50 to 75%, somewhere in there.
Percent? What do you mean percent?
Like the return offer rate. Or are you saying like how much?
Oh,
money?
no, like the salary for the return
okay.
offer. Just give a wide range.
Yeah. So again, like I'm not sure if I'm just supposed to discuss the exact number, but the total compensation for that offer was $300,000 to $400,000.
Yeah. So it was in that crazy range. And for context, this is Google is like 200, 230
in SF, right?
in SF.
Or in the Bay.
Yeah.
This is 300 to 400 in
in
Chicago.
Chicago, which is like 400 to 500 in the Bay.
Dude, maybe even more, honestly,
Yeah.
living here.
Yeah. So you got an insane return offer.
And again, like I'm a 19-year-old.
You're like this 19-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was
Again,
a return offer to come back
weird
full time.
hair, like unshaven. I wore sweatpants every day to the office.
Yeah.
Like I was just not put together. I wasn't a real adult. But what I like about these companies is that, they don't care if you're like super put
Sweaty,
together,
unshaven.
if you're super like personable or good at talking. Like, of course you need to have decent social skills, but you don't need to be, it's not like an investment bank where it's all presentation. It's more like, do you bring value? Can people work with you? Do people like you? That's enough. So, wearing sweatpants every day at the office, if I could go back, I wouldn't do that now, but
But it was fine.
it was fine back then.
So what was your application process in the fall then? So you got that IMC return offer. What happened next?
I was interested in doing an internship in tech because I had experienced the quant side of things. I applied to a bunch of different tech companies, and I ended up getting an offer at a company called Databricks for an internship. And it was a huge downgrade in terms of salary. It was $50 an hour, and I think they were giving like $2,000 a month for relocation. But I was interested in tech, so I was like, I'll sign this. We'll see what happens. Let's see if I enjoy tech. Then what happened is that this company called Jump reached out to me. One of the recruiters reached out to me and said like, hey, I'm in Berkeley. If you want to meet me at Cafe Strata, it's like a popular cafe here in Berkeley, let me know. I went and talked to him, and he said, we're looking for quant research interns. I've seen you've worked at IMC before. So if you're interested in interviewing for a quant research internship, let me know. Based on how he was describing it, it sounded pretty interesting to me. At IMC, I was doing a quant trading role. This was a quant research role, which they're very, very similar. And it depends what firm you're at. And it really depends what role at the firm you're in. But I was interested in development and research. And it sounded like doing quant research at Jump would allow me to explore both of those things. So I decided to interview at Jump for the quant research internship. I didn't do any preparation because
As usual.
Yeah.
As usual, no preparation. Just go in blind.
just kind of go in
almost.
blind and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Because I had that IMC offer, so I didn't care at that point. I was secure in my career.
So your motivation, what I'm starting to realize is that your motivation is drastically different based on your environment / your options.
Yeah. Even when I was, we'll get to what happened with the Jump interview. But again, I had this Databricks offer. I had already signed it, unbeknownst to Jump. So if they're watching right now, I'm sorry, Jump, that I didn't tell you.
Yeah. But anyway, keep going.
I'm sorry. Don't take away my offer now, please.
Keep going. Keep going.
Anyway, so I interviewed for that quant research internship. It's a hard interview, dude. Those were hard interviews. But luckily I was taking algorithms at Berkeley at the same time. And they asked me this like a dynamic programming question for the algorithm side of the interview. And we just covered dynamic programming a couple weeks ago. So I was able to get it done. The math side, I did okay. The data science side, I did okay as well. So they decided that I performed well in the interviews. And then they gave me an offer to join them for the summer as well for a quant research internship. So then I had to make a decision, like, do I go to Databricks and tell Jump, like, I want to do tech, so I'm going to go to Databricks? Or do I say, like, you know, Jump it's too good of an opportunity to pass up. Let me just go to Jump. I ended up deciding to go to Jump instead of Databricks.
So can you compare, just give me rough ranges of like the salary for Databricks for the summer versus the salary for Jump for the summer?
Yeah. And to be clear, Databricks is known as like a good company to work at in tech. Like it's known like there are a lot of
great
smart
software engineering.
Like, a lot of smart people work there. Great compensation for full time. Great work-life balance and culture. Like a lot of people love Databricks. But yeah, I think I'd said Databricks was $50 an hour and like $2,000 for relocation. Jump's total compensation for the summer, I think it was around $60K. Again, in Chicago, paid for the apartment, everything like that.
Yeah, so it was considerably more than Databricks.
Yeah.
And even more than IMC, even.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that year everyone raised their salaries though, all the quant companies.
Okay, so you decided to accept this offer because it was just too good to pass up to work at Jump.
Yeah, it was just too good to pass up. So I decided to intern at Jump the next summer, which was 2023, summer of 2023. Yeah, so that was the recruiting side of things in the fall of 2023. I did interview at a couple other quant companies just for fun, but I didn't pass the interviews. I think it was, I did the same quant research interview for 2 Sigma, final round again, and I failed again.
Same thing.
And then
even after doing a quant internship.
Yeah, I still failed. Dude, I just didn't study. Because I couldn't bring myself to study. I was like, dude, why do I need to study?
Yeah, because you already had this thing. So what's the point of doing it? Because you already had this offer.
Yeah. And then, I interviewed at Citadel for full time, even though I was a junior in college, because I had heard that Citadel had bad work-life culture, like work-life balance. So I didn't want to intern there. So I told them I'm going to graduate in 3 years. Just interview me for full time. And I did okay, but I didn't do good enough to get the offer. But I failed that. And then I failed Acuna Capital again for their QR internship.
Yeah. So you got Jump. You landed a Jump internship. And now you decided to take the Jump internship.
Yeah. So as you can see, I'm not one of those guys who gets gets an offer at every place they interview at, or like 90% or 80%.
What's your success rate?
So but my quant internship interview success rate in terms of like sending me the OA to actually getting the offer.
Applying to getting the offer.
Applying, you can't count applying.
Fine, getting the OA to getting the offer.
Dude, probably like 5%
5%
at most.
And you have done so many interviews.
Yeah.
So again, incredibly successful guy, but you don't see you don't see the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into this.
Yeah. And again, it depends who you are. Dude, there's some kids, if you give them an interview, they will pass it. They're just that smart.
But most people are not like that.
That competent, that experienced. I wasn't like that, and you don't have to be like that.
But I mean, even before this, you had done a lifetime of mathematics training.
I wouldn't say a lifetime.
Fine. 10 years of mathematics
training. Not even 10 years. It was a little...
8 years of mathematics
Dude, it was like 6 weeks in 8th grade, and that's it.
But you had done a bunch of math camps, and you had done a bunch of work and stuff like that.
Nothing compared to what these other actually very, very experienced.
But you're not an overnight success, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
You put in the effort. And you actually had to do you did the interview. You did 50 to 60 interviews, one a day on average.
Yeah, for 3 months straight.
Was there a time where you had to do multiple interviews in one day?
Of course, yeah.
How many? What was your max? 3?
I mean, when they have final rounds, it's like 4 to 6 hours that day. Yeah. It's like you show up at 10, you're done at like 4 or 5 on those days. But it depends what company. I think Citadel was like a whole day thing, right?
Yeah. So you took Jump, and then you went to Jump for that summer, and that was last summer. So what was that experience like? You liked it? Good time?
So we can kind of brush by like what I did in college those semesters. I think I just kind of sat around and did nothing, to be honest. Took my classes, whatever, learned a little bit. What I did do is I took operating systems my second semester junior year, and I really liked it. So I clearly saw like I'm interested in dev and systems, and I'm also interested in research. So going into Jump, the internship, I pushed to do a research project and a more like development project. Was able to do one of each, and I liked both. And Jump liked me, so they gave me a return offer, and that's where I'll be working come September.
Okay, so you got your full-time, you're a quant trader now. So, or you're quant researcher is what it is?
That's the technical
Whatever. You're
word for
working
it.
as a quant.
Anyway, titles don't really matter. It's like,
You're working
who
as a
cares?
quant at Jump come September of this year.
Yes.
Can you give a range for your full-time offer?
Yeah. So again, I don't know
What are
if
you,
they want
21
me.
right now?
I'm 21. I got the offer when I was 20.
Okay, and what was the range?
And I don't know if they want me to give the exact number, but it was significantly over 500K is what I'll say.
So $500,000 to $700,000 a year
Somewhere in there.
as a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
How did that feel to land such a great offer? That's 3 to 4 times. That's like 3 to 4 times even the best software engineering positions.
Honestly, I didn't feel like anything because I already had that IMC offer. And even
Yeah.
when I had that IMC offer, it was like, okay, money.
Yeah,
Woohoo.
more money,
Yeah.
bigger number go up, more
Yeah.
prestige.
Money go up.
Yeah, money go up. You didn't, at this point in your life, I mean, the biggest feeling from what I'm seeing is like when you got the IMC internship.
I would agree. I would say
That was the greatest.
The
That was the
actual
greatest
feeling,
level up.
feeling of elation that I am valuable enough to get this internship.
Yeah.
And then once I did well in that IMC internship and got that offer, I knew like, okay, I'm valuable, I'm competent, I can work well. And then it's like, I think mentally that offer didn't really change me either, like the jump offer.
So tell me about your software engineering experience as well. You interned at John Deere, and then from what I remember, you had some interactions with Amazon and Google throughout your college. So what was that like, and what were your results there?
So after my freshman year at John Deere, after freshman summer at John Deere, again, we talked about how I did 50, 60 interviews for the next summer. I was doing mostly quant interviews, but I did some software engineering interviews. Particularly, I interviewed at Amazon and Google. Amazon didn't reach out to me until like late November, I think. By then, I had already signed my offer at IMC, but I just didn't tell Amazon because it was like, that's a 45-minute interview. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
They asked me some like binary tree question, leak code question, passed it, got an offer at Amazon just for fun. And then similarly with Google, again, I had already assigned my IMC offer, but Google reached out in December to interview me. So I said, okay, let's do it. Passed that as well. And I reached like, the project matching stage of Google, but I had signed that IMC offer. So I told them like, I'm not interested.
Yeah. For context, Google, they'll give you an offer, but then they have to take some time to match you with the project, and you might not even get the internship if they can't match you correctly, even if you get the offer and pass the interviews.
So those were the only 2 software engineering offers. Well, I didn't really get the Google offer, but
yeah. So one thing is that you passed the Google interviews. They had to project match you. So it's kind of out of your control at that point.
Yeah.
One more thing is that if you had landed that Amazon offer before you got IMC, you may never have gotten IMC.
Yeah. I think that, I guess a lot of things in life can be a blessing. Because before I was stressing, like I did the Amazon OAs in August. They didn't say anything to me, What am I doing wrong here? Is my resume not good? What's happening? It's actually good that they didn't reach out to me
because
later.
From what I'm hearing, like your motivation is very dependent on what options you have in all areas of life, right? So in this case, if you had gotten Amazon, and again, like Amazon, John Deere to Amazon, that's exactly what I did. I did John Deere to Amazon. It's not bad. Amazon is considered it's pretty good. It's kind of like, okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously compared to Quant is better. But if you had gotten Amazon in your mind, you'd been like, oh, like $55 an hour, relocating for the summer, or some like summer stipend or whatever. It's pretty good. And you may have like lost your motivation to do those 60 or a bunch of quant interviews later on. So Aadil, you landed 2 full-time quant trading offers at companies like Jump and IMC. If you were to break down everything you learned through 60 interviews and completing those internships, how would you prepare for a quant internship if you could go back then? What are 3 to 5 things you think you should do?
Yeah, so 3 to 5 things in terms of interviewing, actually doing the internship. And I should also talk about like my experience interning at IMC and Jump. I think I kind of glossed over that a little bit. So first, for interviewing, for quant specifically, you just want to study a lot. Like it's probably the most obvious advice. But I didn't study much at all. My studying just kind of consisted of taking my classes in relevant topics, such as like Berkeley has this class called EECS 126, which is in probability. That's probably the most relevant class to the quant interviews. I actually ended up TAing that class for 2 semesters. But there's this book called The Green Book that a lot of people know about that helps you study for quant interviews. And it goes over like basically almost everything you need to know for quant interviews. So it goes over basic probability, statistics, multivariable calculus, linear algebra, different types of problems, like Markov chain, stuff like that. How to apply those concepts and solve the questions. In terms of for QR roles, for quant research roles, you probably need a good coding background. So understanding like algorithms, having a decent data science background, and at least a decent background in ML is useful. So yeah, that's interview prep. Basically, you don't want to be like me and just like shotgun approach and like don't study at all. Just take your class and just hope for the best on all the interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I have much more advice than that. In terms of interviewing, like you'll just get better the more you do it. When the stakes are lower, I tend to perform better. So as we discussed, like I had an offer from IMC after my second year.
Stakes are lower or stakes are higher?
Lower, I do better. Actually, I don't know.
The whole thing was that when you have no internships, you have no leads or whatever, you feel much more urgency to actually study and do.
No, I mean like the actual interview.
Oh, the actual interview. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if I perform better when I'm nervous, but for example, when I interviewed for the jump internship, I had like zero nerves. Like I did not care what was going to happen because I already had my IMC offer. So it was very low stakes. Whereas I think sophomore year, I had made it higher stakes because I hadn't gotten that internship yet. But I mean, you can just tell yourself the stakes, like you decide the stakes.
If you were to go back and prepare for software engineering interviews or even give advice to computer science students who are maybe 17 to 19, they want their first internship, maybe they want to make it to FANG, maybe even Databricks, what advice would you give them there?
I would build your resume and then study lead code.
What's the best way to study lead code? Or what's the best way to get good at lead code?
I'm not the guy to ask for that.
You just were good at lead code? Like you did a bunch of problems.
Because I have had that like competitive math background. So it was easy for me to pick up. But I think for most people, it takes much longer to pick up.
Well, one thing is that, again, I think you had a great amount of focus that people don't realize. Because like, first of all, a lot of what I learned about coding interviews came from you. And one thing you used to tell me is that you would just be watching lead code videos at the gym.
So I guess this is just how you can learn anything. But I remember that summer, that was after freshman year, when I realized I need to study lead code. I only studied for about 3 weeks, but I studied probably 2 to 3 hours a day for those 3 weeks. And what I would do is I would do a bunch of problems in my free time. At the gym, I would listen to neat code videos like a podcast. When I was pooping, I was watching a neat code video.
Yeah.
Everyone has a bunch of like downtime at the gym, in the bathroom, while you're eating. You probably have like 3 hours of downtime per day that you can use. And most people are like, dude, don't watch the video. You need to do the problem. Like if you don't do the problem, you're not going to learn as much compared to like, if you watch the video, you're not going to learn as much as doing the problem. Yeah, that's true. But if you're pooping, like, are you actually going to do the problem? It's like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. It's better to watch a video about leak code than do nothing. So for those 2 to 3 weeks I studied, I did do a decent amount of work. And then after that, I didn't really study.
But I mean, even in those 2 to 3 weeks, you probably did 100 problems.
Maybe like 70.
Your count is like 130 or something.
I think so overall, yeah.
Yeah, so you again, a lot of the people I talk to, they're like, I've been grinding lead code. I'll look at their lead code and it's like 30 or 20. Like people
I was also fast. Like 100 problems in 3 weeks, that's like 5 a day. And each of them takes like maybe 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes.
So what would you, when you were watching lead code videos, did you pause it and think about the solution, or did you just watch it?
Yeah, I would pause it and like think about, I wouldn't just like listen to him do it.
Like kind of like
in the gym, he would read the problem, I would pause it, think about how I would do it, think about how I would code it.
How long would you spend thinking about it?
Usually I was able to figure it out.
Okay. So you were kind of passively practicing these problems through lead code
like
videos.
In my head, I was practicing it.
So I think it's a big
thing
here.
So I guess I was kind of studying. I just wasn't coding it out. I mean, coding it out and debugging is a separate skill, but coming up with a solution is a different skill. So I was working on coming up with the solution.
So do you have any kind of closing thoughts on the pursuit of internships and software quant roles today?
Yeah. I would say try not to become obsessed. I was obsessed sophomore year. Actually, it was kind of useful. So maybe being obsessed is useful. We can get into like why being obsessed might not be useful like later in this podcast. But a lot of kids I talk to, the only thing on their mind is like quant. We know a kid like, I met him. He was like, dude, you're a quant, right? Quant. He literally just said the sentence quant. That was his sentence. You don't want to be like that.
But that's also useful though.
I guess it's useful to get the job.
You know what I'm sensing? I'm sensing is that you were obsessed. You did 50, 60 interviews.
Actually, you're right. This is a pretty common thing. The successful person, man or woman, right? successful person, they forget how obsessed they used to be. And then they advise the person coming up, just be like me. Like, I'm not obsessed right now. I'm chill.
Yeah.
But they forget
Focus on your health,
how obsessed they were before.
Relationships are important, stuff like that. And I think, a lot of people talk about this. You need to look at what the successful guy used to do rather than what he does right now, when he's already made a success. So you've gotten these internships, you've done your lead code, you've learned everything you need to learn in this area, at least to get a new grad job.
On the point of obsession, I think if you're smart about it, you don't have to be obsessed. If you study properly, you know like what's coming in the interviews, then you don't have to be obsessed. I just did so many interviews because I just refused to study.
Yeah. But I also feel like people...
In terms of study for the interviews directly, right? I was taking my classes, relevant topics, right? It's not like I just showed up one day like knowing nothing.
Okay.
If I made it sound like that, that's not the case. It's like I took classes in relevant subjects. Some of the problems are like, relevant to what they were asked in the interviews, but I didn't study directly for the interviews. That's what I mean by I didn't study. I'm not like one of those guys who like shows up to the test, gets 100% and then tells everyone else that they didn't study, right? I definitely did some studying that was very relevant, but it wasn't direct studying for the interviews. It's sort of indirect.
But I feel like a lot of people, especially men in today's society, like young men, struggle with that motivation unless they become obsessed.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of girls in high school, college, they're like very good at like time management. They're very good at balancing all their classes. They'll, wake up they're on schedule. They'll turn in their assignments on time. Whereas a lot of guys, it's like very, I don't know if bimodal is the right word, in the way that's like they either get nothing done. Binary. It's like they get nothing done, or they wait till like 3 hours until it's due, and then they go beast mode and turn it in.
I don't know if a lot of guys are like that, but I'm definitely like that. I'm very like, I don't think OCD is like
that's not the
term. Word for it, but it's called obsessive compulsive disorder, right?
That's more like you check the door lock like 100
you're
times.
Obsessive about maybe not your work, but like other things.
Maybe it's
right?
Yeah. I don't know if that's the right word.
I think I'm just a very obsessive person.
Yeah. With your goals.
When I want something, my mind will just think about it 24/7. Other closing thoughts. When you go to your actual job, do a good job. I think that I was definitely not the smartest person by far in my internships, not even close. Honestly, I probably wasn't even in top half of intelligence in the internships. Maybe, maybe not. But I think that the companies liked me and I liked working because I did a good job. I did my best. I was nice to my coworkers, at least I think I was, hopefully.
Yeah.
I just tried to do quality work.
I feel like you were very locked in though during the internship. Like you would call me and tell me stuff like, I showed up on time and no, everybody showed up on time. But there were people, I think you told a story of like someone who didn't want to stay late or was not doing things on time, right? You were pretty locked in during the internships.
I would say I was locked into a reasonable degree, but that's part of like doing a good job.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't do a good job.
A lot of people make Quant out to be, I think it kind of has this reputation that you need to be a genius to do well in Quant or succeed. My experience is that you do. Yeah. My experience is like you absolutely need.
You have to be a genius,
and I am a genius. No, my experience is that you need a baseline technical knowledge, but after that, it's mostly how you work and how you interact with others. If you desire to do a good job, that's been my experience. Obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about. I've only done 2 internships.
Yeah, you've done 2 Quant internships.
That's like 20 weeks total, half of which is training in each of those.
Yeah, but like...
So it's like 10 weeks of work.
Okay.
So obviously, I'm not that experienced. I work for 50 days total, okay, in these Quant companies. So it's not like I'm some full-time Quant that's been working for years. But in my short experience, that's what I've seen.
Yeah. So kind of changing topics a little bit, something I know that both you and I are very interested in and have been very interested in for the last 4 to 6 years is self-improvement in general. So can you kind of break me through or take me through your self-improvement journey, kind of like end of high school to now?
Yeah, this kind of ties in with the obsessive mindset thing. I think both of us are obsessed with self-improvement.
I would say I'm less so. A little bit less.
I would say I'm obsessed with self-improvement. Yeah. To a degree that people think I'm weird.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Come COVID time, we both start listening to all these podcasts about self-improvement. We read the classic books, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The 4-Hour Workweek, Atomic Habits, the whole list. And both of us realize that we can get good at stuff. I don't think we realized that before. You can pick something, work at it, and actually get good.
Well, I think back in the day, the key difference is that you weren't picking it. It was just kind of thrust upon you and then you got good.
Yeah, like we talked about my background in math. It was just random chance that I ended up doing this math competition. Like, oh, I guess I'm good at this now.
Yeah.
It's not like I picked it.
And you had your friend who beat you and then made fun of you or whatever. And then you ended up beating him at the state level as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shout out Aditya.
Yeah. But how did that
I was friends with him in high school, by the way. Like I don't think he even knows that he was my motivation.
Well, he does now, so
I don't think he's going to listen to this.
Yeah.
I'll be very surprised if he's listening to this.
Yeah. But kind of going back to the self-improvement thing, like what did that realization that you could deliberately get better at something, how did that change you and how did that come to be?
I think going to the gym is part of it. Definitely like lifting, working on that. But a lot of people do that. I think the self-improvement mindset and the growth mindset carries over in almost every aspect of life. For example, music. We both played a lot of instruments when we were kids, but neither of us sang at all. And we both became interested in singing about the same time, like late 2021. Before, like if you told me like, you're going to learn how to sing, if I was like 16, I was like, dude, no way. No way. Like,
Why would I do that?
I wouldn't believe it's possible.
Yeah.
I would just think like, that's impossible. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
One time I tried to like play piano and sing and it sounded so bad I like walked away in shame. I was 16, 17.
Yeah. What did you try singing?
So you've seen The Office.
Yeah.
You know how Andy Bernard at the end, he sings like something like, I will remember you, you will remember me, some song like that.
Okay.
I like heard that. I was like, okay, I'm going to sing this. And then it sounds so bad. I just walked away in shame. Anyway, I've been like singing for 3 years now about getting better. I think that the growth mindset, like really, I just had faith that this will work out. I will get better. I remember when I started singing, this is maybe like July, June 2021. Probably for the first year, I was in utter despair about how bad I was. I think that the only thing that pushed me through that was faith. I would listen to myself. I was like, dude, I sound so bad. Like, I can't believe how bad I sound. Luckily, you know, I pushed through it, but I think that obsessive mindset and the faith allow me to push through.
You had faith that you would improve.
I remember
you would get
I called
better.
you. This is the middle of my IMC internship.
Yeah.
I called you one day and I said, dude, should I just quit singing? Like, I don't think it's for me.
I don't think it's for me.
Yeah, like it's just not for me. I'm just genetically cursed. I can't do this. And this was like about a year in. A year in of like, it's not like I practiced one time a day. I was hitting like probably 5 to 10 hours a day for a year.
Wait, during your internship?
No, like cumulatively throughout that year, on average, probably 5 to 10 hours.
5 to 10 hours a day of practice?
5 to 10 hours a week. I said 5 to 10 hours a day.
You said 5 to 10 hours a day, like four times.
No.
Okay, like an hour a day.
On average, like an hour, maybe a little above an hour a day for a year.
Okay, yeah.
I put in like maybe 300 to 400 hours into singing. And I called you after work one day in my internship. I told you, dude, should I just quit? Like,
I think I'm done.
This is too much for me.
It's not working out.
It's not working out. I put all this time
You were in the dip.
I sound so bad. And you said, read the dip.
Yeah, or in Seth Godin's dip.
Yeah, I was in the dip.
Yeah.
It's a book by Seth Godin about like, when you try to start something new, you think like this is going to go really well. So you're here on the graph. And so when you start, you realize there's so much to learn and I'm so unbelievably bad. Like it's unbelievable how bad I am. I was in the dip.
Yeah. Because when you learn a new skill, you expect it to go linearly up.
Yeah.
But what you don't account for is the fact that before you started that skill, you just had no idea. You didn't understand the map of that skill. So like you first download the map of that skill and then you're like, dude, this is like way more difficult than I thought. And there's way more variables and factors than I thought. And then the dip is that like emotional feeling you feel of despair. When you're at the bottom of first you thought the mountain was like a little hill, right? You take your first step on the hill and all of a sudden the hill becomes Mount Everest. And you're craning your neck upward and that is the dip. You're at the base of that. And it's like, do I turn around and pretend like I just turn around because it's so much difficult?
Yeah. It's just too difficult. So you're like, dude, read the dip.
Yeah. So
I read the dip.
Did you actually read it?
It's a very short book. It's like 60, 70 pages. I think so. I read the dip. It's like, I'm not quitting. I don't quit.
Yeah.
I think it took me another year to year and a half. I think only about 3 to 5 months ago, I was okay with my voice.
You know what we can do is we can put a clip of you first singing and then a clip of you now. Just so the audience can understand what you used to sound like. Because you think you sound pretty good now, right?
I think like I'm like
You're, like, decent now.
slightly less than mediocre, I would say.
What does mediocre mean?
Like out of 10, I'm like a 4.
And 0 is the average person.
0 is the average person.
And 10 is like
10 is like a professional.
It's like Josh Groban.
Yeah, I would say like I'm a 4.
But you feel like you do sound like decent to the average person.
Yeah, decent. Yeah.
So yeah, we could maybe include, at least we'll include you now. A little clip, 10 seconds.
Sure.
But keep telling me about how do you feel about singing now?
Yeah, so I've been putting in on average like probably an hour a day. It's been 3 years now. So that's 1,000 hours in. I feel like I'm just getting started. As I said, like I would give myself a 3.5 out of 10, not even a 4, 3.5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 1,000 hours, like with the Malcolm Gladwell things, it's 10,000 hours. So you're actually a 1 out of 10. Yeah. You're at a 1 out of 10 right now. Yeah. I have 10,000 hours as Josh Groban
0 to 1
mastery.
in 3 years.
Yeah.
0 out of 10 to 1 out of 10 in 3 years.
So you have a good 27 years left.
Yeah. I think that we were also discussing this. I just have the personality type of being obsessed over a couple things and getting really, really good at them. You were saying that you and most other people prefer breadth over depth. And I would say I prefer depth over
You're
breadth.
like extreme depth.
Yeah. I would love extreme depth.
You'll sacrifice like almost all breadth just to get a little bit more depth.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I wouldn't say I have extreme depth in anything yet. Maybe another 10 to 20 years, I think I could get extreme depth in something, such as like maybe something technical, maybe singing like 15 years. I would say, okay, now I'm like a 6 out of 10, right? But yeah, I would just, in terms of personality, I optimize for depth over breadth.
And you're also in this weird spot where like when you're going for depth, you're going to spend most of your time in a spot where you're going for it, but you haven't achieved it yet.
Yeah.
And you've given up a lot of breadth to even get there so far. So you're in a weird spot where like you've left the norm. So you feel like a little bit of an outcast there, but you haven't reaped all the benefits of being amazing at it yet. So you're in this like desert zone right now.
For example, whenever like we go out to do something, if I really enjoy that thing, I'm fine with it. If it's like, okay, like say we go out to eat, half the time I'm thinking, why am I not practicing? like, because I need that depth. I need to get better at those things.
You have a little like voice in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Which is like singing.
Leave, go.
Yeah, leave this
Go
restaurant right now and go
now.
practice singing. So do you feel that with the gym?
The thing is with the gym is that you can only put in, there's like a diminishing returns on your time investment.
Yeah. Like an hour
and
a
you
day
can
is
get
kind
the
of
80-20 within like 4 hours a week. So it's not like when I'm eating, I'm thinking, go back to the gym. Because it's just going to give me like a 10% benefit.
What I do think related to the gym that you think is a big aspect of the gym is recovery and like diet and protein intake.
So for example, if I'm out at night and it's 11 p.m. and I'm looking at some lights, as Andrew Huberman says, it's terrible for your sleep. Then I think, what am I doing? Like I need to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I need to get quality sleep.
You also, we've been on vacation at times and you felt like you didn't hit protein. And you straight up told me and my other brother, bro, the muscles are falling off me in the night. I can feel my muscles atrophying in the night. Yeah. You woke up one morning and you told Arsh, dude, like I think I lost muscle in the night. Like,
No, I could feel like the catabolysis happening in the night.
Yeah.
I think it's just the obsessive personality that like, I care about these things. I want to optimize for them.
Yeah. Okay. But like now back to the gym though. How did your gym, like what was your gym transformation like and how did that change your life?
Honestly, I wouldn't say it changed my life.
It didn't change your life? Are you kidding me? You talk about your physique like pretty often. Like no. Yeah, what do you mean?
I don't talk about my physique pretty often.
Probably once a day.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, probably once a day.
Don't make me look bad in front of the audience.
Okay, but you used to be, for context to the listener, you used to be almost like a small, emaciated little boy.
Yeah, well,
that
I
used to
wasn't
be
a
your
little
body.
boy. I was a tall, emaciated
Okay, fine.
boy.
You were a tall, emaciated boy.
Yeah. I was 6'2". I weighed 128 pounds.
What do you think your body fat percentage was?
Probably maybe like 12% body fat or something.
Oh, because you had so little muscle too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy lean or anything like that. Now I'm like 193. I'm about the same height, 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah. And you're
like
16% body
16
fat.
to 17% body fat. Clearly that's not like an optimal physique, I think.
Yeah.
For me.
We'll put a picture of your physique.
No.
Yeah. The listener can make, or the viewer can make their own assessment.
I don't know about that. But
Okay.
I think for me, an optimal physique would be, like for me, what I would want is probably 200 to 205 pounds at 12 to 15% body fat, something like that. So I would need to put on 10 to 15 pounds more muscle.
But that physique you're describing right now is literally like peak natural almost at that point.
Maybe. It depends on your genetics.
Yeah, fine. But like for the average
Like
person.
Nick Bear. Nick Bear is like...
Dude, he's not natural. Fine.
Yeah.
But like in terms of just the average guy to hit like I think the BMI is like 27 or something.
Yeah.
27 BMI, 12% body fat is like kind of scientifically the best.
Yeah. Like I'm at 25 BMI, 16% body fat.
So you need like an extra 10 pounds of muscle and then you're kind of done.
10 to 15, yeah.
10 to 15,
I think
then you're
cut-
done.
Cut fat.
Yeah.
Cut like 5 pounds of fat or something.
Yeah, then you're done. But how did that change you, dude?
But how did it change me? I think it helped with my confidence. That's probably about it. Like you just feel more confident as a man if you lift. If you look better.
Do you think everybody should lift or no?
It's hard to tell it's hard to tell everybody.
Do you think most
what to
young
do.
men should lift?
I think it would be beneficial for most young men to lift.
Okay. Like if you're not already having how did you stay consistent in the gym? I mean, you've been unbelievably consistent over the last 5 years.
I told you, obsessive personality.
Just mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just got obsessed with it.
I'm
then.
just like mentally ill. That's why.
Yeah, you're just mentally ill. So that's you just got obsessed with the gym and that was it. That's all it
First
took.
year or two, I was obsessed.
And then you got the habits and then it was fine.
I would watch YouTube videos about the gym for probably an hour a day and then lift every I think I was doing push-pull legs like 6 days a week.
So you don't really have any advice because like most people are not like you in this.
I don't think
regard,
most people
right?
are that obsessive.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of guys are obsessive about the gym though.
Yeah, the gym specifically. That's like a big thing.
Yeah.
So would you recommend? Okay, if someone could pick one or the other, this is also kind of like a side topic. But do you think someone should prioritize lifting or music? Just
It depends on the person. You can't answer that question. What do you mean?
Which has changed your life more, lifting or music? If you could remove one, which one would it be?
I would probably remove lifting just because I like music.
Lifting. You'd remove lifting. You go back to the small guy, but keep your music.
God. please, God, no.
You go back to like what you used to look like in like when you were 15 years old.
Yeah.
But you keep your singing and piano, or just like make yourself tone deaf. What?
Dude, well, what is life then? If you lose one of these two, if I lost one of those two, I don't know what I would do.
You don't know if you'd be able to go on.
Yeah.
How improving your looks has helped your confidence?
It's not something really unexpected. I think for context, I think I've improved my looks by a decent amount over the last couple
Be
of years.
authentic, dude. You thought you were ugly.
Yeah,
before.
yeah. So like, I think I thought it was ugly until like a year ago. I would say I wasn't the greatest looking like facially.
Mm-hmm. We may or may not put a picture of what you used to look like. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah. So I thought I was ugly. Probably all my life, I think I thought I was ugly until about a year ago. Luckily, I had been lifting, and I'm relatively tall, so physique wise, I thought I was fine.
You thought below the neck was fine.
Yeah, below the neck was fine.
Yeah. You were like below the neck's fine, but neck up.
Yeah, neck
I'm
up. I was
screwed.
like, it's nothing to be happy about, nothing to be proud about. It is what it is, but I didn't realize that it's not what it is. You can change it. You were the one who actually told me. I had like this unkempt beard, and we took this trip to Europe. We went to this was in Prague, and he said, "Go to the barber." I went to the barber, and I was like, "Wow."
All of us were like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like the barber, that was the first time you realized the barber could like shape your beard.
Yeah.
And you looked so different. And we actually put the picture of the Giga Chad because you look like that.
You
after
showed it
got
to your girlfriend, and she was like, "Giga Chad" or something.
He looks like Giga Chad now. Yeah, because you're literally, your chin was like jutting out with the beard now.
So I think for Looksmaxxing, increasing my beard game, I just didn't realize you could shape your beard intentionally.
Yeah. You probably add like 30% of like attractiveness to your face, which is like,
Yeah,
because
if you
it
can
makes a
rank-
fake chin.
Because my chin is actually quite small, and my nose is quite big.
Yeah. But if you're looking at him right now, he
But
doesn't look
since
like that.
I've been iterating on my beard for about 15 months now. This is where it's at right now. I'm sure it'll be different in a year. I've been literally trying so many things for 15 months to find what looks best. So again, kind of obsessive personality.
Yeah. You kind of obsessed over your appearance for a year.
Yeah, over the last year, I would say I spent probably 30 minutes of thought a day on how to make my face look better.
Yeah. So what are some things that
Which,
you did?
for a man, it sounds obsessive. I think for a lot of women, they do that all the time.
That's their daily routine. They spend an hour on their appearance per day anyway.
Yeah, anyway. For men, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
that's
girls
a
have
lot.
Looksmaxxed forever. Like it's just kind of a common thing. Yeah. I mean, makeup routines are like 10, 11 years old. They're already doing
Yeah,
their
makeup routines. I basically
They're getting their hair done.
figured out my own makeup routine for my beard over the last year.
So what are the biggest needle movers in this area?
It depends who you are and what
Okay.
what
For you
wanna
specifically, what do you think
fix.
made
For
the
me,
most
I think it
difference?
was entirely facial hair.
Okay.
So figuring out how to do my beard properly, how to do my eyebrows properly,
Yeah.
entirely hair based. Because my eyebrows are really, really thick. And they're
Yeah.
really like
They're
bushy.
still pretty thick.
But you see them
kinda-
now, they're still pretty thick. Imagine what they used to be.
We
You
may
can
or may not put a picture.
Yeah.
We may or may not put a picture on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to be really unkempt, really bushy, and they did not look good. I figured out how to do my eyebrows, which again, these are probably not optimal where they're at right now.
Yeah.
But I've been spending.
But you've made some good progress.
Yeah, I made some good iteration on my eyebrows right now. Before, like I went to a threading place and I went to a barber, and then I realized I'm just going to figure out all this by myself. So I don't need to rely on anyone.
Yeah, that's something I realized recently too, because I kept going to get my eyebrows done.
I told you need to figure out how to do it by yourself.
Yeah, because it's so you need to be able to do it every 1 to 2 weeks by yourself. Because it doesn't make sense to keep paying someone $30 to do it for you. It's just a waste of time.
It's not the time and money. It's like the lack of self-reliance that you need to go to this same person if you move, if you're traveling, if they leave. And dude, half the time they'll do it slightly different.
They do it slightly different every time.
They don't have the incentive to do it just right.
They'll give you a good result, but it's slightly different. And I think being self-reliant with your looks is very important. Or just in general.
If you care about your looks.
Yeah.
If you're trying to look smack.
Another thing is that why should one care about their looks? What if someone's listening to something like, dude, I don't really care about my looks. Why do I need to care about my looks? I look fine.
I'm not an expert on this, but just psychologically, I think people treat you better if you look better. I think that's all it is. Yeah.
That's called pretty privilege in the
in
literature.
Layman's terms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty privilege.
Do you think it's happened to you? Do you think people treat you better?
I don't know. I think with me, I look very intimidating, so I don't know. People treat me differently.
Do you think you look more or less intimidating after Looksmaxxing? More.
It's like through my beard. I think my Looksmaxxing was like 95% hair. Like I just changed my hairstyle to like kind of be curly and go more down.
Dude, I sent you many pictures of this hairstyle.
You said I needed to get a fade. You kept telling me to get a fade, and I told you no, it's not.
But I also thought that you should have like a curly, kind of like a smaller curly hairstyle. You used to have like kind of like the mushroom poofy out. Like
yeah. I had that poofy style until like 5 weeks ago. So it's an iterative process. Like I just changed my hair. I think this is slightly better. Overall, I would say with the whole Looksmaxxing thing, if you want to do it, you just got to iterate. You got to try things out. You have to be willing to look worse before you look better. During my internship at Jump, I tried to do my eyebrows by myself for the first time. I had these scissors and I cut like this. You probably can't see on the camera. I cut from the center of my eyebrow to the middle. And like it was pretty deep. So I lost like the top maybe centimeter of the eyebrow, and it looked like a step function.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it looked like this and then this.
Yeah. That's what happened.
So this is in the middle of my internship.
Did someone say anything or no?
No.
They probably thought it.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be willing to take the risk.
I think this is just in general, especially when it comes to lifting as well. It's optimal to bulk and cut. Yeah. All the studies have shown that when you're in a caloric surplus, you will gain more muscle. And if you cut that off using you cut the fat using a cutting phase, in the end, you will end up with a better physique. And you'll have more muscle. But so many guys are terrified of being fat, so they refuse to go into caloric surplus.
Even me right now.
Yeah.
I'm still bulking because I want to put on more muscle. My face is like genetically round, stores a lot of fat. I would look better facially if I said like, forget the muscle, I'm cutting to 10% body fat and I'm done.
And I'm done. I'm not going to gain much more muscle.
But I'm taking that short-term penalty in terms of looks. Like I'm taking the short-term risk. It's not really a risk, but like I'm taking the short-term penalty.
You're taking the loss. You're accepting that you're going to look worse temporarily, so you look better long term.
I will look worse facially for the next 1 to 2 years until I finish my bulk. And I will not stop until I finish my bulk. I don't care.
The thing is that one thing that people don't realize is now is not forever. Now is not forever. So I've done a few cycles of cut. I did one cycle of a bulk, and then I did a cut, and then I did a bulk again, and now I'm cutting. Okay.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, this is this temporary thing for a few months. It's forever. But that time passes like nothing. And when people see you again, they're like, whoa, you've changed a lot.
I get that a lot now. People see me, they're like, wow, you look like a completely different person.
Because this time flashes like that. A few years in the grand scheme of things is really nothing. And you won't look bad for more than like 6 months.
You just have to be willing to take the short-term loss.
You have to be willing to take risk and just experiment.
Like you just take some scissors and cut up your eyebrows and see what happens.
And see what happens. Yeah. I think a lot of people, and I think you also, you thought your hair was like, quote unquote, fine. Yeah. And you didn't want to take the risk because you were like, I'm just going to leave it how it is. It's okay. But I think you experimented and I do think it looks better.
Yeah. It's like some sort of, I don't know, probabilistic algorithm where you choose like a direction and see what happens. And maybe it's better, maybe it's not. And then you update like your function of like how you choose a direction, like something like that, you know?
Like as a whole, Has it been like a positive change? Has it been worth, the juice been worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
As they say.
Yeah. I think it was worth it. Again, we're talking about, so the gym, that's like 5 hours a week for 5 years, I would say.
Yeah.
It's more than that. You have to eat.
That's like 10 hours a week.
It's probably 10 to 12 hours of mental effort a week. Let's say 2 hours a day on average.
The eating is a lot.
I have to eat.
Half the time I'll catch him in the living room just stuffing
I
bread
basically
and
eat the whole day.
the whole day just eating. Yeah.
I have to eat so often that when I go to practice singing for an hour, I can't even do like 2 hours because I have to eat in between.
Yeah. You have to stop after an hour to eat.
Yeah. Because genetically, I just have a tough time eating a lot.
Yeah.
And I need to eat. I have to eat like 3,500 calories to do my bulk. Probably gonna have to increase that. So.
Yeah. Another thing is that you benefit from having a good physique forever. And to maintain, it takes how much effort does it take? How many hours per week does it take to maintain your physique?
1 probably.
Maybe like 1 to 2 hours in the gym.
1 hour in the gym. And then if you include eating, like maybe
1 to 2 hours in the gym, not one.
I'm pretty sure the studies have shown 1 set a week.
Okay. So it basically takes like 1/5 to 1/4 the amount of time to maintain as it does to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the thing is that you benefit from having a good physique forever. So might as well, literally, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you have not started working on your physique or your looks, might as well just figure it out now while you're young and then just benefit from the rest of your life.
Yeah. Take the short-term loss. But yeah, has it changed my life? And was the juice
worth the squeeze? I mean, you spent years in monk mode almost just doing this stuff. Like, has it been worth it?
I think the gym has been worth it. I think I didn't take my approach. My approach to the gym was not optimal. And
it was
I
pretty
think
good.
The main suboptimal thing was my eating. I just don't eat enough. I still don't eat enough. The progress I made in 5 years, I probably could have made in 2 to 3 if I ate optimally.
Yeah, but that's also everybody. Very few people eat optimally. Who eats optimally? Yeah. I don't eat optimally. Barely anybody eats optimally. So.
Even if I ate slightly better, I probably could have gotten here in a year faster or something like that. Was it worth it to lift for 5 years? I think it was worth it. I think it developed me as a person. I think my confidence is much higher because of it. And I know I can do hard things for a long time, like an extended period of time.
I think the gym was the first hard thing you did. Other than the math counts thing.
There's name dropping him now.
It's fine, dude. Yeah. Honestly, he blessed you by doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to you in like 2 or 3 years, but if you want to talk sometime, just let me know.
Yeah. But
anyway, he's not watching this.
Yeah, but the gym, like, the fact that you, and I think you were one of the only guys in our high school who was actually taking the gym seriously at that age.
Only nerds.
Only nerds. Fine. Yeah, whatever the athletes
all
were
these
doing.
Football dudes were definitely.
They were all bulking, cutting, lifting, doing all this stuff.
I was one of the only like brown Indian guys that was lifting. Maybe there were like 5 or 10 of us that were getting into lifting at that age. Yeah. But in our social group of all band nerds, I was one of the only. I think lifting is worth it as a man. I think putting on the muscle is worth it. I think I move differently now. I just walk with more confidence.
Oh yeah, both of us definitely move differently now.
Yeah, more of a presence.
I used to feel unbelievably just insecure in a room. Like back in high school.
It's nice to know in a room that I look fine, I'm physically fit.
You just move with a level of grace. You just feel more powerful in a room.
There are 2 approaches. You could say, let me just get really good at this. Or the second approach is like, this doesn't matter to me, so I'm not going to put
let me just forget about it.
Let me forget about it.
I think one thing is that people who are obsessive, they don't know when to let it go. Yeah. This ends up being a problem over time for obsessive people.
Yeah, I think the gym was worth it. I think the 30 minutes of thought I put in per day to figure out my eyebrows and my beard, I think that was definitely worth it over the last year. When I was starting doing my beard by myself, I would spend 2 hours on it. Just taking scissors and going around saying, okay, how can I like change this? What does that do to the jawline? Like, how does this make the side of my face feel? I would spend hours on the weekend taking scissors and trying different things. And then I would take pictures and then look at the pictures like in detail, like this looks like that, and it's still not optimal now, I'm sure,
but you'll improve over time.
But yeah, it takes a lot of mental effort if you want to really optimize it. And again, I'm sure most girls at a young age have been doing this.
Mm-hmm. No, they spend hours on their hair and makeup and
we were visiting our aunt yesterday, and she was talking about how her daughter, when she was like 12 or 13, would get up 90 minutes before school to spend like 70 minutes on her hair. So I guess it's not that uncommon of a thing. I just think it's uncommon because my male friends don't do it.
Yeah, most men don't do it. I think they could benefit from doing that a bit. So you objectively were in monk mode for quite a while.
I wouldn't say I was in monk mode because I wasn't working the whole day.
You were in a version of monk mode.
I was in a version. I was in.
You were isolated.
I was a leisure monk.
Okay.
Leisurely
monk. Yeah. You watch some YouTube from time to time.
I would, in terms of productive hours, I would probably put in on average 4 hours a day. I would say 4 to 5 hours of productive work. 1 at the gym, 1 singing, and like 3 to 4 on college stuff. When I was interviewing, it was probably more. On average, maybe 3 to 4, maybe 3 to 5 on work, and 1 on the gym, 1 on singing, and like 7 on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Or 6 or 7 on like useless.
All right. So what's next for you? What's your dreams and aspirations? Where would you like to see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I can't really comment on the 5 to 10 years thing because I haven't made a plan yet. I haven't really thought about it.
Like, what's floating in your head? The new rich? Like, what are some things you feel like you haven't done yet that you'd like to do?
I think getting better at music, that would just make me happy. So continuing to do that. Hopefully finishing my lifting up, so I can focus on other things.
So what are some new things that you might pick up in the next 5 to 10 years? Now that you're potentially done with lifting, maybe done with dating, hopefully in 5 to 10 years. You don't think about these things?
Once that's done, I mean, again, you need to go from 0 to 50 to go from 50 to 100. I think all those things for me are 0 to 50 before I even can consider 50 to 100.
You've never even considered what's happening in 5 years, not even once?
No.
Dude, this is the obsessive part of you. It's like your brain is so into like the depth of lifting, singing especially, and dating, and maybe a little bit of lifting right now, that you haven't even thought about where you want your life to be in 5 to 10 years.
I think after that, probably thinking about self-actualization and working for myself in some capacity. Mm-hmm. But that's a conversation to be had in 5 years. Right now, the plan is to join Jump in September.
Why do you want to self-actualize and start your own company at some point? Why would you want that?
Listen to How to Get Rich Without Getting Lucky by Naval.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for my audience? Resources that have helped you throughout your life?
For the Quant interviews, the Green Book.
Okay.
For
Lead Code, Neat Code.
Yeah.
What about lifting?
If you have any other questions, you can DM me on Instagram as well.
Also follow Aadil on Instagram.
Yeah, I have like 100 followers, so if you want to
be one of the 100. Yeah. But for lifting, if someone's interested in getting better at lifting, if there's like 1 or 2 things they could do.
Just look at Mike Isertel on YouTube.
He's too advanced.
Oh, he has beginner videos.
I think Jeff Nippert's better for beginners.
You can find someone who's
watch lifters on YouTube.
Relatively reputable on YouTube.
Yeah, watch their videos.
All right, I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.